Welcome back to the channel, everybody. I'm the Tome Scour, and I'm back today with a strange but I think rather spicy deck tech. Today we're doing Kamigawa Death Dragons. Alright, so as you can see, I got all 10 of the Kamigawa dragons with death triggers on them from the original Kamigawa set and from the new one, Neon Dynasty. And if I gotta be honest here, I think the Neon Dynasty ones are actually better than the older ones, and we'll see why here in just a second. But I thought, how can I make this a 5-color deck with all the dragons and get those death triggers over and over and over again and just do some kind of fun and interactive stuff with the table? So I decided to use Kenrith, the Return King, as the leader of this essentially dragon deck. And the reason why we're doing Kenrith is because obviously he's all 5 colors, but his activated ability down here, pay 4 and a black, put target creature card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under its owner's control. So the whole idea of this deck is to make sure our dragons get on the battlefield, make sure they die, and then reanimate them and make them die again over and over and over again. Get those death triggers multiple times, make it cheaper to reanimate them. There's even an infinite combo in this deck, which I don't usually like to play infinite combos because this is not really a competitive deck by any means. But there is an infinite combo in here where you can just basically make your opponents draw their entire deck and you get to win the game. So let's take a look. So that's Kenrith as our commander. So first we have Atsushi, the Blazing Sky, and its 2 death triggers are exile the top 2 cards of your library until end of turn. You can play those cards, and then the big one here, create 3 treasure tokens when it dies. Okay, so this is going to be one of our combo enablers here. When it dies, if we have an Ashnod's Altar, is it Ashnod? No, Ashnod's Altar? One of those altars. I don't know. We'll see when we get there. When you sacrifice this, you get to add 2 colorless mana, and this dies, create 3 treasure tokens. Well, if we have Kenrith and we can reanimate him, and then we have some kind of like cost reducers on Kenrith, which we'll see in a little bit here too. We do have a couple of cost reducers for his activated abilities. We're going to be able to make infinite treasure tokens and then just activate Kenrith, his stuff as many times as we want. So we'll, again, we'll see that here a little bit more. Once we get there, we'll set that one to the side and talk about that combo at the end. Pretty self-explanatory. Then we have Ryusai, the Falling Star. So when it dies, it deals 5 damage to each creature without flying. We got a lot of flying creatures here, and if our own creatures die, we'll be able to reanimate them with Kenrith. Next we have Junji, the Midnight Sky. It's got flying and menace, and then it's 2 death triggers that you can choose from, or each opponent discards 2 cards and loses 2 life. Pretty good. And put target non-dragon creature card from a graveyard onto the battlefield, and you lose 2 life. So, you know, we can get some stuff back to the battlefield, or we can just make people discard cards, which is just kind of mean. All right. Next, we have Kokusho, the Evening Star. So when it dies, each opponent loses 5 life, and you gain life equal to life lost this way. So if you have 3 opponents, we sacrifice this thing, we gain 15 life, and all of our opponents lose 5. Pretty sweet. All right. Next, we have Kairi, the Swirling Sky. So its death triggers return a number of target non-land permanents with total value 6 or less to their owner's hand. So, you know, if we just want to return some stuff to our opponent's hands, we can do that. Then we get mill 6 cards, which is great for us because we want to get some of these things into the graveyard so we can reanimate them. It's definitely a graveyard strategy here. So milling then, getting those stuff in there, getting those things in the graveyard, and then returning instant and sorceries from our graveyard to our hand, which is great because we got some tutors in here, which are great too. All right. So we have Kega, the Tide Star. When it dies, gain control of target creature. This could be a win con in itself if we can just keep reanimating this thing and just stealing all of our opponent's creatures. We're going to be doing pretty good. Next, we have Kura, the Boundless Sky. Its death triggers are search your library for the land cards, put them into your hand and shuffle, or create an XX green spirit creature token where X is the number of lands you control. So we can either make a creature or get some lands into our hand to help us ramp out. All right, then we have Jugan, the Rising Star. When it dies, you may distribute 5 +1/+1 counters among any number of target creatures, which is nice because Kenrith lets things get trample, and putting big counters on there, make big stuff tramply, is pretty good. Okay, Ao, the Dawn Sky. Its death triggers are look at the top 7 cards of your library, put a number of non-land permanents with total mana value 4 less from among them onto the battlefield, and put the rest on the bottom of your library random order. So we could have some artifacts so we can get with that. Or we can put 2 +1/+1 counters on each permanent you control that's a creature or a vehicle. We don't really care about vehicles, but putting 2 +1/+1 counters on everything's pretty good. All right, and finally the last one, Yosei, the Morning Star, probably the weakest one of all this, but it could do some damage in like the late game towards the end. If when it dies, target player skips his or her next untap step, and you tap 5 target permanents that player controls. So if somebody, you know, they're getting close to winning the game, they got their win cons on the board, like they're going to attack or something, we got to tap those, and they don't untap during their next untap step because they have to skip it. So pretty good. So those are the Death Dragons. Now let's see what we're going to do with them. All right, maybe we can put these up here to show what the combo is going to be later on once we get to those cards. All right, so here we go. Here's the rest of the deck. And again, this is sort of like a dragon deck, and, you know, I make no qualms about it. I mean, I'm not, like, pretending it's something else that it isn't. It's a dragon deck, and it seems like it's fun to me, so this is how I want to play it. We got Tiamat. It's going to get some dragons into our hand, so once it enters the battlefield, if you cast it, so, I mean, we're going to want to try and cast this one if we have it. We're not trying to get this out of the graveyard, otherwise it does nothing for us. Get to search for 5 dragons, not named Tiamat, and put them into our hand, so pretty good. All right. Next, we have Corvold, Fey Cursed King, another dragon. Basically, some card draw for us. We're going to want to sacrifice a lot of things, so that way we can draw some cards with this, which would be nice. All right. Next, we have Old Gnawbone, because who doesn't love making a bunch of treasure tokens and doing nutty things with those? Speaking of treasure tokens, we got Goldspan Dragon that will double up our treasure tokens, or our treasure token value. Tap it, sack it for 2 mana instead of 1. All right. Terror of the Peaks, because we got some big dragon stuff coming in, and this can deal some direct damage to people, like that. And then we have our Kenrith cost reducers. So we have Biomancer's Familiar. So it says its activated abilities or creature control cost 2 less to activate. So that basically makes our activation of Kenrith cheaper, and that's what we use it for. So I guess we could put this... Well, wait, we got some better cost reducers here. We have Zerd of the Dawnbreaker, which does basically the same thing. Abilities you activate that aren't mana abilities cost 2 less to activate. So that's not just creatures, that's pretty much all activated abilities. So even on like other permanents, makes it 2 less, which is good. All right, then we have some sack outlets here. We have Viscera Seer, sacrifice creatures, scry 1. And then we have Yawgmoth, Thran Physician, just a insane card. You pay a life, sacrifice a creature, and then start putting -1/-1 counters on like the biggest threat at the table and draw a card. Then we're going to discard and proliferate. I mean, this thing just, it's great. It's awesome, this deck. Probably the best sack outlet that we have in here. All right. Then we have Sidisi, Undead Vizier, so it has exploit. So when it comes in the battlefield, sacrifice a bunch of stuff. And then we have good old Teysa Karloff here, and she's going to help us double up on those death triggers. Whatever death triggers that we choose for the newer Kamigawa dragons, or the old ones, like they're going to double up, and we're going to do it 2 times, which is just completely insane with some of the death triggers on there. Then we have Pitiless Plunder, again, like treasure tokens. Treasure tokens are like probably the most busted thing that Magic's come out with like in the last 5 years, and Pitiless Plunder is awesome in this deck. We sacrifice creatures, we get treasure tokens. All right, then we have, I love this card. I think this is like sort of a little, my favorite thing that I put in here. It's just kind of fun. It says, spirits you control get +1/+1 have haste, which is great because all our dragons are spirits, right? And then it also says, whenever another non-token creature you control dies, exile it. If you do, create a token that's a copy of that creature, except it's a spirit in addition to its other types, and when this creature leaves the battlefield, return the exile card to your graveyard. Okay, so if we sacrifice one of our dragons, we exile it, make a token copy of it, sacrifice that token copy, bring it back to the graveyard from exile, and then recast it again with Kenrith. So you just keep getting all these death triggers when we have this out there. Making those tokens and being able to sacrifice those is just nutty. It's bonkers. It's awesome. All right. Athreos, Shroud Veiled. So this is kind of nice. You get to put counters on creatures, and if they die, you get to return them to the battlefield. And yeah, so it's kind of nice at the beginning of your end step. Put a coin counter on things, and when it dies, it comes back to the battlefield. Or if it gets exiled too, so even better. Stuff gets exiled, we still get to bring it back if it has a coin counter on it. All right, and then we got a tutor here. We got Captain Sisay. We have a lot of legendary creatures and other legendary permanents in here. So Captain Sisay is going to help us find the stuff that we need. We have Eternal Witness because if we want to like bring back some instants and sorceries to our hand, or pretty much anything really, like this is mainly geared towards instants and sorceries and getting those back into our hand, sacrificing it, reanimating it, get more instants and sorceries back into our hand, so on and so forth, right? So yeah, that's mainly what this one's in here for. We have Seedborn Muse. This is so we can activate Kenrith on our opponent's turn. Pretty self-explanatory. We do have Enlightened Tutor in here. This is like our only of our cheap tutors, just this one because, or cheap mana costed tutors, I should say, because we do want to be able to find some artifacts and enchantments in this deck, which are important to our strategy, and we'll talk about those here soon. All right, then we got some removal. Swords to Plowshares, Path to Exile, couple of counter spells. We got Counterspell, Arcane Denial, because it's just like drawing a card and replacing itself. I mean, yeah, your opponent gets to draw 2 cards, but who cares? We got Assassin's Trophy, get rid of a permanent. Beast Within, get rid of a permanent. Deadly Relic, exile a creature. And then we have our sorceries. So we're into Demonic Tutor. Search for something, put it in our hand. Diabolic Intent, which is perfect for this deck because we want to be able to sacrifice creatures. And then we get to tutor something up. You know, use Eternal Witness, get this back into our hand, use it as another sack outlet over and over again. It's kind of nice. All right, we got our ramp. We got Farseek, Nature's Lore, 3 visits, and then another tutor. We got Buried Alive, so we can search stuff up and put it into our graveyard and ready for Kenrith to reanimate that stuff. All right, then we got a couple board wipes or removal. This one counts as both. Damn, and you can destroy a creature, or you can overload it and Wrath of God, everything. And we have Damnation, another Wrath, and Wrath itself. So 3 board wipes, which we don't mind board wiping because we're reanimating stuff anyway. Alright, so here's the other piece of that combo. The cheapest piece to the combo is Training Grounds. So this reduces activated abilities of creatures by 2. Makes Kenrith everything cheaper and pretty good. So that's the third part of our combo there. Alright, so other enchantments. We have Ristic Study for some card draw. Mana Flare to get our mana ramped up. Yeah, it helps our opponents, but you know it's going to help us even more because we want to get these big dragons out as fast as possible. We got Sneak Attack because we can just put stuff out onto the battlefield for 1 red if it's from our hand, and then we sacrifice it, and we're just going to be bringing it back anyway, so that's fine. No, we don't mind sacrificing. Next we have Guardian Project for some more card draw. Greater Good, sack outlet, and card draw, and we get to discard cards so that we get to put stuff in our graveyard. Pretty good. Wilderness Reclamation, untap all our lands. We can activate Kenrith on our opponent's turn. Mirari's Wake to buff our creatures and make our mana a little bit better. And then we get into our artifacts here. Alright, so we have Soul Ring, Arcane Signet, Felwar Stone, Chromatic Lantern, Commander Sphere, and Thran Dynamo because we got some big beefy creatures, and I don't know, I don't play Thran Dynamo or anything, so I thought I'd throw it in this deck. And here's the last part of our combo is Ashnod's Altar. Sacrifice a creature, add 2 colorless to your mana pool. So again, we'll look at that here in a little bit. Altar of Dimension is not bad. It's a sack outlet, and we can put stuff into our graveyard so that we can get it back, which is nice. We got another sack outlet here with Birthing Pod, so we can pay 1 and a green Phyrexian mana and sacrifice a creature and then search 1 up and put it onto the battlefield. We have the Great Henge for some more card draw and a little bit of life gain, which is nice. And that one's going to be kind of easy to cast, especially with some of the big dragons we got and putting +1/+1 counters and stuff. It'll be pretty easy to cast fairly quickly. All right, let's look at our mana base now. First, let's pick all these up. So we got not all 10 fetches, but we have 5 of them. We got the enemy fetch lands. So we got Misty Rainforest, Scalding Tarn, Marsh Flats, Verdant Catacombs, Arid Mesa, Fabled Passage, and Prismatic Vista. So those are our fetches. Obviously, Prismatic and Fabled Passage are not true fetch lands, but they get us a basic, so it's nice. We got all 5 of the Triomes. So there are those, all 5 Triomes in there. And then we have all 10 Shocks. So let's go through those quickly. All 10 of the Shock lands. Our 5-color lands, we got Command Tower, City of Brass, Mana Confluence, Reflecting Pool, the World Tree, which is nice. I thought about maybe putting Maskwood Nexus in here just to try and get that combo off and like get all of our creatures onto the battlefield. I don't know. It seems very janky and not really like it's ever going to work really. So yeah, I don't have a way to search up lands either, so it makes it just not very consistent. So maybe someday if I do have a better way of searching for non-basic lands, maybe I'll put that combo in there. We'll see. All right, then we have Phyrexian Tower, which is another sack outlet, and then add 2 black mana when you sack something. 2 islands, 2 swamps, 2 forests, 2 mountains, and only 1 lonely plains there. All right, so I will have the entire deck list down there in the description, so if you want to check it out, you can see what it is. But let's just look at this combo again one more time real quickly here so everybody gets it. So we got Kenrith Return King. We have Training Grounds, which makes his abilities 2 less to activate. So with this on the battlefield and Kenrith, it costs 3 to reanimate a creature. Okay. So with Ashnod's Altar, we sacrifice Atsushi, the Blazing Sky. We add 2 colorless, and then we make 3 treasure tokens. Then we use those 2 colorless and 1 treasure token to activate Kenrith's Reanimate ability. And we are sitting pretty with an extra treasure. Is it 2 extra treasure tokens every turn? I think it's 2 extra because, yeah, it costs 3. Yes, we get 2 extra treasure tokens every single time we do this. We do it over and over and over again. We make 300,900,476,000 treasure tokens, you know, because you can't go infinite. And then we just do the 4, or actually be 2 with training grounds. Target player draws a card. So sacrifice 2 treasure tokens and make our opponents draw their entire decks and win the game. Or if you want to get cute, you can gain infinite life and then put infinite +1/+1 counters on all your creatures and swing in and give them all trample. You can just do a bunch of cool, fun stuff with Kenrith when you have unlimited mana. All right. So that's the deck. I hope you enjoyed it. I've only played it 1 time, and I gotta say, it's just so much fun. You get a bunch of dragons out, you swing in, you make treasure tokens, you sacrifice things, you bring things back, you do all this fun stuff, and it's a great fun deck. If you have any questions, put them down there in the comments section. If you have any comments on it, think something could be changed or something cool could be added to it, let me know. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again next time.